Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John and we have another top 10 list for you guys here today. And I figured, you know what, the 30th anniversary of 1994, one of the greatest years in film history, featured one of the greatest Oscar races in film history, won by Forrest Gump, which I've always said I feel like Pulp Fiction should have won that year, but I understand why Forrest Gump won. You know, that was more of the safe route to go. Robert Zemeckis directed that movie. It featured Tom Hanks, who won the Academy Award for Best Actor the year before, won back-to-back years, but you know, I feel like it would have been really cool to see Pulp Fiction be the 1994 Best Picture winner. But 1994 featured so many great films, so actually picking 10 films and their physical media releases to talk about today was actually very difficult. And I left some movies off the list that really kind of hurt me. So not only are we going to count down the top 10 movies of 1994, but we're also going to talk about their physical media releases and if you guys should pick those up or not. So without further ado, let's dive right into this top 10 list and start it off with number 10.
Is that gasoline I smell?
So number 10 is The Crow. This movie is most famous for Brandon Lee passing away, unfortunately, on the set of making this movie. But this movie itself takes place on the day before Halloween, the year before. Brandon Lee's character and his wife were unfortunately killed. And 1 year later, he comes back to life, and he's out for revenge. One of the best revenge tales you'll ever see. And this feels like a movie right out of the 1990s. It feels very grunge, very dirty, very gritty. And unfortunately, this movie is getting a remake. I'm saying unfortunately, but you guys know that this remake is coming out the very day of this video. So if you guys want to check out the new film, The Crow, let me know how it is. I'm probably going to check it out this weekend as well. At least I hope to. But I don't think it's ever going to come close to the original Crow because this is one of those special 1990s movies. And is one I have to watch every single Halloween season. And this Paramount 4K Blu-ray, in my opinion, they knocked it out of the park with it. This is actually one of the better Paramount releases that I have seen. And I appreciate that because I do think The Crow is one of those special movies. And if you're going to honor the legacy of Brandon Lee, the least you could do is at least put out a good 4K Blu-ray. So hopefully this movie gets some new fans because I think it deserves it.
A walk and a talk that just wasn't normal around here.
On the outside, I was an honest man.
And then at number 9, this might seem a little low for some people, and I actually just rewatched this for this list because I want to check out the 4K Blu-ray from Warner Brothers, and it's a very standard Warner Brothers 4K Blu-ray release, and that's not a bad thing, actually. I think it's a really good thing. They really added some new life to this movie. When I think of this movie, I think it's very cloudy. That's one thing that always pops in my head. It's always very cloudy out in this movie. It takes place in a prison. It's very muted. Frank Darabont directed this, I believe in his directorial debut. Stars Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins. This is the other movie, along with Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction, that was really in the running. Also Quiz Show and Four Weddings and a Funeral, that were really in the running for 1994's Best Picture winner. And I think a lot of people believe that this should have won the Best Picture. You know, back in the late 1990s, this movie was just always on, I think, TBS or TNT. So you've probably seen parts of this movie just like myself so many times. I've actually sat down and watched this movie from beginning to end at least 15 times. I think it's a very enjoyable movie. You know, I'm just not as hot on this movie as I was about like 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. I think I just seen it too much, but I still think it's a great movie and it is by far one of the best movies of 1994. And I don't blame people if they like this movie a lot more than I do. It's just, you know, I rewatched it trying to see how I feel about it, and I was just a little bit cooler on it than I usually am.
I like these calm little moments before the storm.
And at number 8, with a great Sony 4K Blu-ray, it says Columbia on the side, but we know that Sony owns Columbia Pictures. This is Leon, or The Professional, or as I like to call it, Leon the Professional. The Professional is the theatrical cut version. Leon is the director's cut. Me personally, I say always go for that theatrical cut. I know what they're going for with the director's cut, but personally for me, it doesn't entirely work, and it does make me a little bit uncomfortable at certain points, but they do flesh out the Leon character a little bit more. I don't think it's necessarily necessary to do that. I think what they have in the theatrical cut is more than enough. Luc Besson, this is my favorite film from him, and I really love La Femme Nikita. I love The Fifth Element, but this for me is his best film. It's got great action, great acting in this movie, not only from Jean Reno, but we also get Natalie Portman giving one of my favorite performances from her, and it's a child performance, but she just had it right out of the gate. Gary Oldman overacting his ass off, but I love every second of it.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone! And again, this 4K Blu-ray is actually one of my first 4K Blu-rays here on the channel because I just wanted to talk about Leon the Professional. So you guys can go back and watch that and see how much this channel has changed since Leon the Professional's 4K Blu-ray review.
They've worked hard enough. Isn't it time they had their own movie? Clerks.
And at number 7, I got this nice 3-pack here, but I'm going to go at 1994's Clerks. This is the one that started it all. Now, I don't have the 4K Blu-ray or a solo version of Clerks, even though this is the movie that really put Kevin Smith on the map. You know, he was filming this after work at the convenience store that, you know, he worked at. Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith obviously plays a character in this movie. He's Silent Bob. Jay and Silent Bob got their own movies, but it all started here in 1994. Now, this movie, not a great looking movie. You know, they did the best they could. If you guys saw Clerks 3, it's pretty much showing you everything they went through making the original Clerks, why they chose to shoot it in black and white. Not only was it to save money, but they were shooting at night, so that's also why they have the gate closed out in front. I mean, I love all of that. Kevin Smith, he's an inspiration on me because he actually did it. He got to live out his dream. You know, he gambled on himself, put everything on credit cards to make this movie, and it all worked out for him, and he just seems like one of the nicest guys on the planet, so of course, you'll love to see that. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith, and Clerks is a masterpiece, and I'm hoping, from what I've heard, Paramount is working on the 4K Blu-ray release of this, and let's just hope we get that pretty soon. And at number 6, I'm going to go with the Three Colors trilogy. Now, technically, Three Colors Blue came out in 1993, and Red and White came out in 1994, but I'm going to go with the whole trilogy because I really truly believe you should watch the entire trilogy. Now, if I was just going to pick one, 1994 gave us Three Colors Red, which is the third film in this trilogy, and I think it wraps up the entire trilogy with a nice bow, really sending home the message and the themes of the entire trilogy, which to me is just a very human trilogy, telling human stories, and, you know, really cutting no corners with that, not trying to fluff it up and make it look like, you know, life is this great thing. No, it just shows you that we're all human beings, and the way we deal with grief and marriage and all of that is done so well in this entire trilogy of movies. One of the greatest trilogies ever put on film. Now, the reason why I actually have it a little bit lower is because I've talked about it many times in the past, but these Criterion 4K Blu-rays are not great. I really think you should go with the Blu-rays that are packed in here. They have a certain tone to them, or just buy the trilogy on Blu-ray. Don't even buy the 4K Blu-ray. But when you watch Three Colors Blue and Three Colors Red and Three Colors White, the color that, you know, is being represented by the French flag is why we have the colors on this trilogy. That plays a theme in the movie. It has a blue tint to it, or things are blue, or things are red. And I just, again, all of that stuff is just incredible filmmaking, and I think the 4K Blu-ray really did that a disservice when it goes to 4K Blu-ray, where I would recommend watching the Blu-rays. Now, actually, Three Colors Red, if I'm correct, is actually the best looking of all the 4K Blu-rays in here, and that's the one that wraps the trilogy up. So, again, Three Colors Red, if I had to pick one.
Awarded the Medal of Honor.
How come? Now, my mom was always telling me how miracles happen every day.
And at number 5, we still have to have the Best Picture winner from 1994. I know that the internet has cooled on Forrest Gump, but I still love Forrest Gump, mainly because one of my bad mood movies is Forrest Gump. Other than Batman 1989 or Pulp Fiction or even The Terminator, I will watch Forrest Gump. If I'm ever feeling bad, this movie will always turn that frown upside down. Now, this 4K Blu-ray, it's not one of my favorites. I feel like it's a little bit too dark. Now, I don't think they've actually upgraded that. It has gotten a steelbook 4K Blu-ray release, but from what I understand, it's the same exact scan. That's a little bit disappointing because I really do want to have this in the most beautiful format possible, and I just think that this 4K Blu-ray kind of missed the mark. It's not that bad overall. That's the thing. It's not like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is also getting a 4K steelbook re-release. No, it's just something that really kind of let me down just because I wanted it to be a little bit brighter. It's still really good, like I was saying. I don't want to sell this 4K Blu-ray short. It's just that darkness really does kind of bother me. I think they really need to turn the brightness up. Now, I could turn the brightness up on the TV, obviously, but they kind of want you to see this 4K Blu-ray in that darkness, and I just don't love it. And again, Robert Zemeckis directed the hell out of this. The special effects in this movie, the CGI, how they kind of have Forrest Gump in these like classic scenes talking to John Lennon, like all that stuff is great. One of the funniest lines in film history is in this movie, "Sorry, I ruined your Black Panther party." I just, oh my god. It's got those funny moments, those heartwarming moments, and then by the end of the movie, you're crying when Forrest is talking to Jenny. You know, I'm not going to spoil the very end of this movie if you haven't seen it, but man, it gets me every single time. So I really do think that Forrest Gump is one of those movies. I don't know why people don't like this movie as much. It's still an incredibly well-made movie, and it's definitely one I can highly recommend if you haven't seen it. And this 4K Blu-ray, you know, it is what it is.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is on.
And then at number 4, what I consider to be a 5-star film, one of the greatest action movies of the 1990s. The first Keanu Reeves movie that I ever saw, 1994's Speed. Him, Sandra Bullock, Dennis Hopper. John DeBont directed the hell out of this movie, and then 2 years later, he directed the hell out of Twister. He was a cinematographer before this, was even the cinematographer on Die Hard. So the guy knows how to shoot action, and he shot the hell out of this movie. It's a lot of fun. It feels like a 1990s summer blockbuster. Keanu Reeves got jacked for it, shaved his hair. Dennis Hopper chewing up scenery like only he could. We can't let that bus drop below 50 miles per hour. And this 4K steelbook, it's actually not, it's not the greatest 4K steelbook, but it's still a really good 4K steelbook. The disc itself is pretty damn good. I actually wanted to review this some point this summer, because it's one of the best summer blockbusters in my opinion, and they did a great job with the visuals and audio, so I can highly recommend Speed if by chance you haven't seen it.
There's not a single job in this town.
Yeah, unless you want to work 40 hours a week.
And then at number 3, because I always have to cheat with this, when we're talking 1994, one actor had the greatest year of their career and one of the greatest years in career history for any actor. And that's because in 1994, Jim Carrey gave us not only Ace Ventura: Pet Detective in February, he gave us The Mask that summer, and then at the end of the year, he rounded it out what I think is my favorite of these 3 movies, Dumb and Dumber. All 3 of these movies are classics in my opinion. All 3 of them I can rewatch and just rewatch. It's the reason why Jim Carrey was my first favorite actor when I was a child. These 3 movies in particular, throw in When Nature Calls, and then a couple years later, he made Liar Liar, and Jim Carrey for me was at the top of the mountain. He's still one of the funniest human beings in my opinion. Now, of course, just like many comedians, he kind of fell off a little bit, but still in 1994, there was no name bigger than Jim Carrey. Now, all 3 of these movies are on Blu-ray. I don't think they're the greatest Blu-rays in the world. Unfortunately, Dumb and Dumber only has the director's cut, which I think is the insuperior version of that movie. The Mask is pretty damn good. I really just want to see that movie on 4K Blu-ray. I think that, out of all 3 of these, would lend themselves the best of the 4K Blu-ray format. And, Ace Ventura, it's a pretty good Blu-ray, but just all 3 of these are pretty damn bare bones. And I would love to see all 3 of these get upgraded to 4K Blu-ray. And unfortunately, celebrating their 30th anniversary, it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, which, of course, disappoints me. And then at number 2, now this does have a 4K Blu-ray release, but I have a funny story about getting this Blu-ray. So The Lion King, of course, is my second favorite movie of 1994. For a long time, before I saw my number 1, this was my favorite movie of 1994. One of my first favorite movies. I just remember watching The Lion King at home in 1995 when it came out in VHS. Loved this movie, taught me a lot about death, unfortunately. It is a classic. The voice cast is stunning. The music, not only is the soundtrack great because it's kind of a musical, but the score itself, done by Hans Zimmer, is beautiful. Beautiful animation. They had the B team working on this one at Disney because they thought Pocahontas was going to be a bigger hit. Well, little did they know The Lion King was going to come out of the gate firing. Now, why do I only have this Blu-ray? Disney doesn't make the greatest 4K Blu-ray, so I didn't feel the need to upgrade. And, I got this Blu-ray one of the times when it was out of the vault. I missed the Blu-ray release before that, then they put it back in the vault. This was a thing that Disney used to do. So when it came back out on Blu-ray, I had to make sure I grabbed it. You can actually still see the Best Buy logo in the corner there when I bought it at Best Buy. RIP Best Buy and physical media, but I grabbed this there. Haven't felt the need to upgrade it. Maybe one of these days I will get it on 4K Blu-ray, but not right away.
With great vengeance and furious anger, those who attempt to poison and destroy my brother.
And then at number 1, we of course have my second favorite film of all time, which I believe should have won Best Picture. This is the movie that made Samuel L. Jackson a star. I think this is the best performance of the 1990s in this movie by Samuel L. Jackson as Jules, and that is, of course, in Pulp Fiction. Quentin Tarantino followed up 1992's Reservoir Dogs with his magnum opus, with his masterpiece, and he's come close to topping this. Believe me, he's just that damn good of a director. There's a reason why I love Quentin Tarantino's director. It's just, he makes movies that really do speak to me, and this one, my God, telling the non-linear storytelling, it's one of the big reasons why I fell in love with filmmaking, is because of this movie right here. Like, how they were able to accomplish all this. Of course, it's just actors showing off their amazing acting skills. Christopher Walken, like he does, pops up in one scene, gives one of the greatest monologues in in film history and then just gets the hell out of there. And thankfully, you know, I was worried that we were going to get a bad 4K Blu-ray release of this. It came out the same year as Reservoir Dogs in 2022 on 4K. But luckily for us, Pulp Fiction is a great 4K Blu-ray. And you know what? So is Reservoir Dogs. So unfortunately, Inglourious Basterds might be the one weak link in his 4K Blu-rays that we've gotten so far. But still, thank God that Pulp Fiction is a great 4K Blu-ray release. I can highly recommend this one to you guys. But it's also Friday, guys, and that means it's time for our digital code giveaway. In every single video that we do here on Friday, I've been asking you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you got to do is answer one of those in the comment section below, and as long as you do that, you come back to the video that we put out every single Tuesday. I'll put your name on a magic wheel. I'll spin that wheel 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And of course, we're talking 1994. So I'm going to ask you guys, what is your favorite film of 1994? And 1994 had one of the best Oscar races in film history. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think is the biggest Oscar snub of all time? Now, if you got no answers for that, just say, hey, I don't got an answer for any of these questions, but I still want to enter the giveaway. I just like to ask these questions just to spark a conversation in the comment section, talk movies with you guys, get some recommendations from you guys. So I really appreciate everybody who enters into the digital code giveaway. Thank you guys so much. And guys, if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. We also have channel memberships. So if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer of the channel like John Doe Juggalo and Jason Martin, or a director for the channel like Mr. Smelly Potato and Frank from Frank's Medium Reviews, you can look for all that information in the description below. But if you got no money to throw our way, don't you guys worry about it. We just hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, make sure you guys get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.